The student becomes the master, outgrowing your mentor. Have you ever thought deeply about the rationale behind employing people based on their years of experience? Well, maybe you have, but I'll share a perspective with you that might get you thinking a little more about this. I would assume that someone with 5 years of experience is more experienced than someone with 3 years. But this assumption may not exactly be right, and I'll tell you why. To begin with, 5 years of experience on paper may not translate to 5 years in practice. And it's possible that the person with 3 years on paper will be more experienced in practice than the person with 5 years. There are 4 things to consider. Number 1, time factor. Just in case you've never heard about the 10,000 hour rule, let me tell you a bit about it. It's a concept that was propounded by a man called Malcolm Gladwell, and it's backed by research. He said that it takes approximately 10,000 hours of deliberate practice to master any complex skill or field. What this invariably means is that more hours of practice equates to more experience. Now notice that the unit of measurement here is hours and not years. This implies that if you can put in more hours per day on average than someone who started before you, you can surpass their time input at some point and become better than them based on the 10,000 hour rule. So one person may have 5 years of experience but puts in 5 focused hours daily. The second person may have 3 years of experience with 10 focused hours daily. Based on the 10,000 hour rule, the person with 3 years on paper is more experienced than the person with 5 years. But then, time factor is not the only factor to take into consideration here. And that brings us to the second point. Experience with a range of tools and techniques. This is another very important factor. It's not enough to put in 10 hours daily or even more. The question is, what are you doing with that time? The 10,000 hour rule applies to complex skills. But in many cases, the complex skills are an aggregation of small, simple skills. And for the simple skills, you can attain mastery in a much shorter time. So if you are practicing the same skill or using the same tool day in, day out, you may get to a point where you've already attained mastery of that skill, and more hours may make no significant difference. And so one person may have more hours by the books, but another person with less hours could be more experienced simply because they've taken the time to learn and practice more skills compared to the person who has put in more hours. Number 3, access to information. You may be doing something and doing it well, but one piece of information can move you from good or average into the realm of massive growth and improvement. Someone could show you a trick you'd never known before, or give you a resource that answers all your questions, or better still, hold you by the hand and show you some deep secrets that cause massive transformation in your work. This is an extra edge that people who have stayed longer in the profession usually have. It comes with experience, which may not necessarily equate to the hours. Sometimes, beyond the hours and tools, the older people have faced specific scenarios and gotten access to specific pieces of information that puts them ahead. Number 4, evolution and revolution. We talked about this on last week's podcast, and this one is usually an edge for people who are relatively newer to the field. It's said that you can't teach an old dog a new trick. Many people who have been in the profession for years are so used to doing things in a particular way that they become complacent. If it works, why should we do it differently? Moreover, the older professionals are afraid to try out new things because they have a reputation and do not want to dent it when things go wrong. The early career professionals, on the other hand, are curious to try out new stuff. It may be working, but can it work better? They have no reputation, by the way, so there's nothing to lose. This exploratory mindset opens them up to modern techniques of doing the job faster and more efficiently. These 4 points we've raised apply to students and teachers, to mentors and mentees. But like I said, the mentor has the upper hand on some facets, while the mentee has the edge in others. Knowing these, what's the way forward? I'll begin with the way forward for the mentor. Here are 2 things you must note as a mentor. Number 1, it's not enough to have the years of experience on paper or the titles. You need to ditch the titles and do the necessary work to stay ahead of the curve. Put in the hours, practice more, learn new skills and sharpen the ones you already have. Push the boundaries, don't get comfortable. Understand that as a mentor, you have lots of work to do, especially as the world and the workplace is evolving. There's no constant, you're either getting better or worse. You might lose your relevance if you stay the same and do not try to improve yourself. Number 2, as much as you try to push yourself, put in the hours and expand your knowledge, You must also come to terms with the fact that you can't know everything. Let me put it more bluntly. You won't always be better than your mentees in every aspect. As a matter of fact, when your mentee does better than you, it's proof that you mentored them well. Instead of trying to suppress them like some mentors do, you should rather encourage them to keep soaring. You must also keep an open mind and don't be ashamed to ask them for help if you need to. Remember that you have the experience edge, and when you combine their new tools and techniques with your experience, you do even better. For the mentees, you're getting a double dose. Here are 4 things for you too. Number 1, the hours you put into learning and practice can amass you the equivalent of years of experience in less time. Following the 10,000 hour rule, 5 hours of focused practice daily will land you somewhere around 1,800 hours in a year. An extra 2 hours daily will land you 2,500 hours in a year. This means that if you want to attain mastery faster, you need to put in more hours. You don't need the years, you need the hours. And when you put in the hours, it naturally shows in your work. Note that I said focused hours. It's not enough to put in 1.5 hours or 5 hours on paper, but 3 hours out of those 5 are spent on social media. Be true to yourself. Number 2, beyond the hours, try out different things, different tools and techniques. At the beginning of your career, you've got nothing anyways, and when you have nothing, you have nothing to lose. He that is down is fear no fall, so go all in. Number 3, I know the rule says 10,000 hours of practice makes you a master, but don't get scared. You don't need to be a master before you can start doing great things or raking in some income with your skill. Start where you are and improve over time. Number 4, peradventure you get better than your mentor. Trust me, if you are driven, there's a good chance you will at some point. You must remain humble and resist the temptation to rub it in their face or make it look like you know better than them, even if you do. If you are faced with a situation where you are sure you have the superior opinion, rather than outrightly say, your method will not work, sir, it's outdated, you should say, I found this other method and I've tried it out before. It works like magic. I think we should try it. 2 things could happen here. Your mentor may decide to follow your pattern, but he could also tell you from experience why your pattern may not be the best in practice, even though it appears better in theory. Another thing that could happen is that your humility will encourage your mentor to reveal new secrets to you that will propel you forward with greater speed. But if he senses that you are out to outdo him and make him less relevant, in many cases, he or she will withhold vital information from you just to keep you beneath them for longer. Considering all the points listed above and looking at the 2 sides of the coin, mentors and mentees, here are my overall deductions. Number 1, when employers of labor ask for 5 years of experience, the expectation is that if you've been putting in the required hours daily for 5 years, you should be at a certain level. Number 2, while this may be true, it's also important to favor experience over years. If you've listened carefully to everything I've said so far, you'd agree that experience is not necessarily equivalent to years. Number 3, mentors and mentees need each other. Mentors usually have experience with a range of peculiar challenges over the years, while mentees have the edge of curiosity that complements the inherent complacency of many mentors. Rather than trying to subdue or undo each other, they need to work together to achieve a common goal. Number 4, as a mentor, do your best to groom your mentees to be better than you. It's a thing of pride for mentees to go beyond your own limitations. This is why our parents are always happy to see us doing better than them. Number 5, as a mentee, no matter how much you think you know, even if you get to the point where it feels like you are now ahead of your mentors, stay humble and always give them their flowers. Resist the urge to raise your shoulders, it may not end well. Number 6, I've said this a million times before, and this one is for the mentees of early career professionals. Go all in and try stuff out. Fail early when you've got nothing. No money, no reputation. If you've got nothing, you've got nothing to lose. Let's pause here for today. As usual, I hope this was worth your time. Please share this with someone if you found it useful. Subscribe or follow to stay updated when new notes drop. Have a lovely week ahead. Until I come your way again, keep being amazing. My name is Murphy Nnamdi Chuba.